It can be seen that at the beginning of it, Gabimaru gives no last words as he is about to be beheaded by his executioner. However, to everyone's surprise in the courtyard, the sword snaps from the executioner, relentlessly striking Gabimaru's neck, but it remains undamaged. This leaves Gabimaru to wonder why he cannot die despite having no reason to live on. On the other side of his cell, a female inspector interviewed Gabimaru, an Iwagakure Shinobi, born and raised as a superhuman killer. Gabimaru tells the inspector that she was right to assume that the executioner's blade was not strong enough to cut through his tough flesh, and that he did not even have to use ninjutsu to avoid being beheaded. Later, Gabimaru was sentenced to be burnt at the stake and impaled with a spear beforehand. However, he was unharmed by both attempts as his body snapped the spear and resisted the flames. He is then sent back to his cell, where the inspector once again interviews him, although he turns around after his burnt clothes expose him. The inspector tells him that she will continue to perform her task even if he is nude, and asks that he continue to explain to her his background. Although he believes that his background is not interesting, he complies with her request. Gabimaru tells the inspector how his village chief killed his parents, for an unknown reason, when he was only an infant, but was unaffected by this. As a shinobi, he explains that he has no dreams since his only role is to kill whoever he is ordered. As for now, he was arrested. He explained that his village chief ordered his fellow shinobi to betray him on a mission after wanting to desert the village. The next day, Gabimaru is sentenced to be torn apart by bulls tugging at the ropes tied to his feet. However, Gabimaru survives this as well after the bulls become overwhelmed by the weight of his legs, from him clenching his feet subconsciously. The magistrate becomes furious with this turn of events and furiously asks to bring more bulls to make another attempt at executing Gabimaru. The inspector comes up to Gabimaru to tell him that she found it strange that in spite of him accepting death, she has been noticing hints of resistance from him. She then asks him to answer yesterday's question about his reason for wanting to leave Iwagakure. Gabimaru tells the inspector that he is the strongest shinobi of Iwagakure. Because of this, he gained recognition from the chief of Iwagakure to be suitable to marry his daughter. The Iwagakure chief complies with Gabimaru's request but tells him that he must complete one final mission, despite knowing that he was set up to be betrayed and captured. Gabimaru explained that he had no choice but to be arrested since escaping would mean Iwagakure tracking him down wherever he went. At night, the inspector walks along the streets with one of the men from the execution grounds who becomes concerned if she should involve herself with Gabimaru. Given his reputation as Gabimaru the Hollow, the cold-blooded shinobi who killed over 20 men during his arrest, he also added to the rumor about the shinobi of Iwagakure having drunk the Elixir of Life, the medicine of immortality from Shinsenkyo. While in his cell, Gabimaru thinks back to the inspector's past observation of showing him signs of resistance and believes she is right after remembering how he strengthened his neck to survive his execution before beheading. However, he becomes confused about why he is subconsciously preventing himself from dying in spite of not having a reason to live. Then, he decides to allow himself to die in his next execution. After closing her journal, the inspector tells the magistrate she is ready for her next assignment. Upon entering the room, Gabimaru saw the female inspector sitting at the center. The magistrate reveals to Gabimaru that the female inspector is Yamada Asaemon Sagiri, who hails from the Yamada clan, highly skilled sword testers and executioners. After becoming shocked by the revelation that she is an Asaemon sent by the shogun, Gabimaru feels that he is in danger of being beheaded and causes his restraints to break from his nervous reaction. This then prompts the magistrate to order Sagiri to execute him quickly, which she complies with by immediately getting behind Gabimaru. Gabimaru then dodges Sagiri's next attack, making him question whether he does not want to die. Having heard his history and analyzed him carefully, Sagiri tells Gabimaru that he has been lying to himself about wanting to die because his attachment to life is his wife, whom he loves. After becoming shocked by this revelation, which causes him to look back on fond memories he had with his wife, Gabimaru reacts angrily by quickly grabbing a sword from one of the men and clashing swords with Sagiri. Gabimaru denies her allegations and proclaims them to be hollow. In a memory, Gabimaru hears his wife that he is not an empty person, but unfortunately refuses to believe so since he is only accustomed to ugly things. After coming in to hug him, Gabimaru's wife assures him that he is kind because he isn't concerned with the scar on her face. She also tells Gabimaru that even though the people of Iwagakure are not allowed to live ordinary lives and that her father tried to destroy this dream by marking her face, she reassures him that people's hearts do not die so easily, and comes in to kiss him on the lips after she still sees him feeling down. After telling Gabimaru that he can gain in everyday life, Sagiri pulls out an official pardon that dismisses his past crimes, in addition to gaining the shogun's protection, which could help free him of the magistrate's office and Iwagakure. However, she explains that he can only receive it on the condition of the shogun if he travels to the underworld, as in the legendary place known as Shinsenkyo, where it has been recently discovered to exist beyond the Ryukyu Kingdom. There, he must obtain the Elixir of Life for the shogun, which was a task that many expedition teams have failed to do after the only thing that returned from the island was a boat with a corpse sprouting flowers, and compete with other death row convicts who also have their eyes set on the pardon. Having recognized his skills and a fierce desire to live, Sagiri declares him a suitable candidate for the task and informs him that his wife has closed herself off from everyone as she faithfully awaits his return, much to Gabimaru's assurance. Hearing this, the magistrate refuses to allow Gabimaru to be released, in spite of Sagiri stating that it was a command from the shogun and has his men point their weapons towards them if they resist. After shedding a tear thinking back to his wife's past statement about how people's hearts don't die so easily, Gabimaru reminds Sagiri of the time she wanted to see ninjutsu and honors her request by using Nimpo Hibashi to scorch the men with the flames emitting from his body. Gabimaru tells Sagiri that he accepts the mission to find the Elixir of Life and asks what will be his next step. After being told that he will have to accompany her to Edo, Gabimaru complains about not going directly to the island but changes his mood after Sagiri almost calls off the offer, telling her that he will face whatever comes his way to see his wife again. In the beginning, Sagiri flashes back to her childhood when she became inspired to emulate her father's sword skills after witnessing him execute a convicted storyteller whose decapitated body did not realize it was already dead after finishing his tale. Flashing ahead to an execution, Sagiri is praised by the magistrate's men for performing well for a woman. Although she accepts their praise, Sagiri finds herself burdened by the life she has taken. This fear becomes apparent to Yamada Asaemon Sagiri, who scolds Sagiri since the condemned will suffer if she possesses fear and doubt. Despite telling him that she will strive to work on this flaw, Sagiri fears again after beheading her next convict and asks how she can overcome the fear and doubt that is within her heart. In the present, while putting a mask on Gabimaru, Sagiri believes that her answer would possibly be a life she could take without question. At Edo, the death row convicts recruited for the expedition are gathered for a briefing with the shogun. Sagiri recognizes a few criminals among the crowd and hears Gabimaru complaining about taking off his mask to breathe easily and see the shogun, which she denies. After explaining to the criminals how they will be pardoned for their crimes if they manage to return with the Elixir of Life from Shinsenkyo, Sagiri notices and recognizes a criminal named Adachi Madagoro, as he becomes pleased to know that he can continue killing without consequences if he receives the pardon, and wonders to herself if he would be the perfect person for her to cut down without fear or hesitation. After yawning, Gabimaru is recognized by a kunoichi named Yuzuriya sitting behind him and hears her expressing her disappointment with his appearance and apprehension in spite of his infamous reputation. Gabimaru gives a shallow apology in response. Rather than go over the details of the island, as the criminals start to complain, a retainer allows the criminals to remove their masks to show them a sergeant blooming with flowers, explaining to them that this was a result of the island after he became the only survivor out of the 60 men who were sent on the last expedition. This causes criminals to worry that the island is dangerous. A retainer then reprimands them since he believes that the expedition to paradise is a courtesy from the shogun in spite of their being on death row. After one of the criminals named Nurugai asks about the possibility of the Elixir of Life not existing on the island, the retainer tells him that they are not allowed to leave if they do not wish to take part in the mission, which becomes favorable for one of the criminals who choose to walk out. However, the criminal is beheaded by Aizen because of this choice. Gabimaru asks Sagiri, as he holds her blade down on his neck, if this is true and is assured. Although he accepted this, Sagiri became confused about whether Gabimaru was acting brave or was just simple-minded. After being called over by the shogun, the retainer demands that the criminals reduce their number to the limited number of people the ship can board, and the few Asaemon that are available. While the other criminals become confused by what he means, the criminal Eiza Chobe makes it clear to them, by struggling with a convict next to him, that they have to kill one another until only a few are left standing, as evidenced by the fact that the retainer's not batting an eye to this action. The retainer tells him that he is right, but they have to do so while keeping their hands restrained at all times. As the massacre starts, The retainer sees the shogun entertained by the spectacle and criticizes him in his head on how pointless the massacre is, since they will all be useless by the time the brawl is over. The shogun then wonders as to who the elite criminals are among the skirmish and is informed by his retainer that they are the Bandit King, Azachobe, and Kunoichi Yuzuriya, the Blade Dragon, or 8 provinces unparalleled, Tamiya Gantetsuse, the giant Rokuroda, and the hollow Gabimaru, who confuses the retainer as to why he isn't moving from his spot. During the massacre, Sagiri is approached by Aizen, who believes she is overwhelmed by the sight, which prompts him to warn her that what she will face on the island will be more brutal and ask if she is prepared to kill when the time comes. He also admits to her that he does not believe that she is suited for the job and that she should focus instead on living life quietly as a woman. While enduring his criticism, Sagiri tells Aizen that she would have chosen that life if she had the option, but recalls from her childhood how it is unavoidable that death centers around everyone in the Yamada clan, regardless of whether they wield a sword or not. Sagiri is then targeted by 3 criminals who attempt to escape. Rather than have Aizen defend her, Sagiri steps forward to behead them while herself, in her mind, refuses to accept her fate as an executioner quietly. Having taken another life, Sagiri begins to feel her fear taking over and becomes conflicted with herself. However, Sagiri regains her composure after hearing Gabimaru speak his mind to the retainers on how it's never okay to kill people and asks if there was any other way to select the qualifiers, with another reason being that not all the murderers present wanted to kill, off their own free will. Seeing as he is unwilling to follow the order he was given, the retainer tells Gabimaru that he can forfeit his chance to receive the pardon. It would offer a criminal a place on the expedition if he were to kill Gabimaru. Favoring this, a criminal went up to Gabimaru to try to attack him with a rock. Gabimaru tries to reason with the criminal but hears him refusing to listen and says that his only option is to die if he won't fight back, having been left with no choice but to kill and be burdened with the lives he has taken, which catches Sagiri's attention upon hearing. Gabimaru murders the criminal standing in front of him. While the others become horrified by what they saw, Sagiri realizes based on Gabimaru's words from earlier that she needs to resolve to carry the burden of her fear and the lives she takes just like him, which brings a tear to her eye. Aizen notices Sagiri and interprets this as her unpreparedness for the upcoming task. However, Aizen is corrected by her, as Sagiri states her resolution to kill him. With 10 criminals left standing, the retainer declares the massacre to be over, and has each of them paired with an Asaemon as they head towards the uncharted island to find the Elixir of Life. Will Gabimaru be able to keep his promise of a peaceful life with his beloved wife? Would it agree without hesitation? Let me know in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel.